into the realm of no choice. All right? Second inversion, you're always going to double the bass voice. So if I have a second inversion, so I have second inversion C major triad, you're going to double the bass voice, which is the fifth of the chord, right? If it's second inversion, the fifth is in the bass. So you're going to double the note that's in the bass, always, you know, in any kind of second inversion chord, or 6/4 chord. Or in C, this is a tonic 6/4. And again, it doesn't matter where you double it, so if I had it here and here, 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 I've got the fifth doubled, the bass voice doubled, in the alto here. Here in the tenor, here in the alto, I can do it in the soprano if I want. So you're always doubling the bass in the second inversion.
Why do you have to always do this?
Well, the idea is with the 6/4 chord is that it's not, it's more like a delay of the dominant, it's like an altered, or a, well, in the cadential 6/4 it's like a delay of the dominant, the 5 chord. Or in the other cases, passing, it's more like an ornamental chord. And it's really supposed to be more like a 5 chord that you change some notes in, rather than a chord in itself, if that makes sense. So in either of those cases, it's seen as having more of a dominant function than a tonic function. So that's the more important note of the 5. Again, you could probably find some exceptions, not necessarily in the cadential area. When we talk about like a cadential 6/4, you're always going to find the bass double. Always, always, always. But maybe in the passing area, you might find some exceptions. The pedal one, though, too, either. I can't think of any times when there would be exceptions. And the problem with the passing one is the voice leading has to go a certain way, or you're going to end up with parallels. So that's probably, that might be another reason, just because of the voice leading itself. So, just sort of to surmise everything, with the root position, no choice, double the root. Okay? With the first inversion, choices. And this gradation of choices, from our best choice, which is to double the soprano with an inner voice, to our worst choice, which is to double the inner voices. And then finally, in second inversion, again, no choice. Okay? You want to double the bass voice, which is the fifth of the chord. Now, let's just go over some of the different 6/4 chords. I know we did this once before, but let's just review that a little bit too. The 6/4 chords of the second inversion chords have 3 main uses. And the first one is the cadential 6/4. So that's the progression 1/6/4 to 5, and eventually back to 1 again. So here's where this is really like a delay of arrival of the dominant. The 1/6/4 to 5 to 1 is like a cadential formula. And in the book, they do this kind of thing, bracket this together sometimes and put this all as a 5, because what they're saying is this 1/6, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but in a way it doesn't matter, because it's really just telling you that the 5 is going to come. It's eventually going to resolve the 5 and then become 1. So it's like a delay, what they call a delay of the dominant, which you're going to get eventually. And the way you're going to get that is the 6th, the interval of a 6th above the bass notes is going to resolve to 5. And this interval, which is a 4th, a perfect 4th, is going to resolve to a 3rd. Is that too complicated? But, so 6 goes to 5, 4 goes to 3. The interval of a 6 becomes a 5th, the interval of a 4th becomes a 3rd. And mainly that's because of the 4th. At at that time, in early music, the fourth was considered an acceptable interval. But later on into the classic and into the Baroque, and then after that, the fourth was considered a dissonant interval that needed to be resolved down by step. Okay, so it doesn't sound that dissonant. It's not like a tritone, you know. It's not that dissonant, but it was felt to be a dissonance that needed to be resolved down by step. So fourth to third, and sixth to three. So you get this. Fourth resolving down to a third, and a sixth resolving down to a third. Okay. So the 1-6-4 is just delaying the eventual arrival of the dominant and the resolving to a 1.
Sounds like our final.
Huh?
Sounds like our final.
Well, yeah, these are just kind of traditional harmonies. Yeah. And so when that happens, you have this kind of situation. And so 1-6-4 to 5 eventually resolve. So that's a cadential 6-4. Then we have passing 6-4. And that is a second inversion chord moving from a root position to a first inversion, or vice versa, first inversion back to root position. So if we had this progression from 1 to 1-6, oh wait a minute, I want to go back to the 4. So since this is like a 5 chord, this whole unit is like a 5 chord, it should be preceded by some kind of predominant chord, which is either 2 or 4. Right? Remember in your diagram, we'll go over that kind of stuff more in detail next week, but 2 goes to 5 or 4 goes to 5. So since this is considered like a unit, like a 5 chord, then it's got to be preceded by a 2 or a 4. You don't just approach it from a 3 or even another 1, okay? You're really getting there by going from a 2 or a 4. Okay? All right, so that's cadential. So if I have a root position to a first inversion 1 or some other kind of chord, I can fill in the bass, the stepwise motion in the bass, by having a second inversion 5 chord. Okay. Now, when I do that, let's see. So when I get to this this second inversion chord, I want to have this bass voice, the fifth note, doubled. And if I did it here, I'd end up with parallel octaves, right? If I did it here, I'd end up with the bass kind of leaping down a little bit far. We want to work on stepwise. So the best place to get that would be in the soprano voice. So now you see a good example of what when they talk about soprano bass counterpoint. You know, the two voices moving against each other gives you better, smoother voice leading. And even though some of this sounds, even I mean the music itself sounds kind of boring, you know, and traditional or whatever you want, you know, that's the part of the point of this harmonic writing is learning to write in that fashion. And then if you learn to write in that fashion, you can break out of that, but you still need that control of knowing how to write in that fashion. Okay? So we are trying for kind of conservative writing practices, not I'm free to do whatever I want. Okay, so the bass moves up by step, the soprano line moves down by step, and so we have that nice counterpoint, then we can fill in other voices in between to get the kind of voicing that we want. See, so in this root position, we have the root doubled by the bass and the tenor. In the second inversion, we have the bass doubled by the soprano here. And then when we get to the first inversion, we have the soprano doubled. And the soprano and bass voice is moving in contrary motion to each other. And then just figuring out the other stuff in between. So here where I have already my 2/5, my fifth doubled, I just need a root and a third. And here where I have the third of the bass and the tonic and the soprano, I just need another tonic double here and a fifth. Does that make sense?